Hey guys, it's Caleb with BassQuest. Welcome back to another episode. Did you know that you could use Google Earth to actually become a better fisherman? A lot of guys use Google Earth in order to find unpressured fishing areas. These could be little creeks, backwater areas, they could be farm ponds, and that's really good. However, I see it as way more than that. To me, it's a tool that helps me become a better angler. I personally use Google Earth to help me catch more fish on pressured waterways such as Lake Chickamauga, which is my home lake. In the proper hands, this software can be used as an effective scouting tool. It can help you break up your lake into manageable sections, find juicy spots that not many other people know about, adapt to changing conditions such as seasonal changes, high water events, low water events, and weather events, and it can help you better visualize and understand your mapping software such as Lakemaster, Navionics, Cmap, Lakeview, and everything else. This video is going to be part of a series on how to properly break down a lake, and it's really going to help the guys that are going to follow along in my live streams. I'm going to try to do one once a week, and it's going to help subscribers break down their home bodies of water as well as have a better understanding of what different types of bodies of water are out there. But without further ado, I'm going to jump on the webcam here and show you how I use Google Earth. Alright guys, first things first, I want to talk with you a little bit about topographical maps and how they can actually help you better understand your lake mapping. Don't forget, if you like the video and want to follow along with the series, go ahead and hit that like button. It's a little thumbs up down there, and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. All you got to do is find a little subscribe icon down here on the right hand side. Click that. Once it turns gray, ring the little bell right there. Click it as well for notifications when I post a new video. Basically, these topographical maps just show you terrain and elevation changes. So if you're looking through here, you can see these contours. They relate directly to what the terrain looks like. So right here, I can see that there's a foothill, and then there's a saddle that runs to another foothill. And this runs down through a ridge right here that goes to a small, I wouldn't even call that a valley. It's more like just a small cut right there that's got a road in it. So seeing all this on a map is all well and good, but you really need to be able to visualize it yourself. And to me, the best way to do that is to be able to overlay this map right here, or these topographical maps, with a Google Earth map that's relatable to you. So in other words, find a spot in your area and do this. Okay, first things first, you need to go to Google Earth right here. As soon as it pulls up, go to Earth Versions up here at the top. You're going to run over here and you're going to download the Google Earth Pro on desktop. Once you go through all the prompts and get that downloaded, you're going to end up with this. Now this is your Google Earth, and you have several features you can do here. So what you're going to do after you do that, in order to get this topographical map overlaid, you're going to go back to the internet here and look for the link below in the description. But this is Argus. This is Tennessee maps right here. You can find some in your local area. Sometimes you have to use the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers maps, but they have topographical maps of your area. Next thing you got to do, go down here in this bottom section here, click this, type in snipping tool. Go ahead and use the snipping tool. Click new. Once you do, you can get an area snip like this. Right click on it, save as, and save it as you can put capture on there. I labeled the ones that I have here already. Okay, so once you've got your familiar section of mapping snipped, I chose an area right around Sequoia here. You're going to go back to Google Earth, and then you're going to click up here at the top. You can see this little symbol right here, and that's the overlay tool. Once you click it, you go to Browse, and then you can put in the topographical map of your choice. In my case, it was the Sequoia one, so I've got that now. Once you have this topographical map overlaid, you want to use these stretch tools in order to properly fit the map to the Google Earth image. The best way to do this is to pick an area that's got several roads like these, and you can pull and stretch this picture and rotate it until you get it to match the roads. Once you have all that done, you've got this right here. If we look over here, we can see the topographical map. Now, guys that are familiar with this area know that this is a very steep bluff wall that runs through here. And what we're seeing on the map relates to that. We see these tight contour lines indicating a steep rise in that bluff right there and a relatively high peak on it. So we can see that. Now, if we move out through here, guys that are familiar with Skull Island area, we know that this is a much more flat area, and it's indicated by these contour lines as well here. This is the best way I can tell you to become familiar with a topographical map, because it's something that you can visually see. And I would even encourage you to go out and pick an area around your house and go out and look. You're like, oh, there's a ridge right there. There's a saddle that connects two ridges. There's a point that comes down. And once you see that, you can actually visualize and understand what these topographical maps are actually telling you. Another quick thing you can do here, if I go to properties on this overlay that I already have, we'll put this out of the way, I can drop down the opacity. And when you're stretching this map to fit, you're really going to want to drop down the opacity on there so that you can see and match up the Google Earth image to that image as well. All right, and the reason why this is helpful is because basically your lake map is just a flooded version of a topographical map. So if you can see and visualize this stuff above water, you can visualize it under the water as well. One thing you got to remember is that Tennessee River impoundments or reservoirs were just flooded river systems to begin with. So all that topography is just sunken underneath the water. All right, talking about how you can use Google Earth to better understand your mapping software. All right, when you're talking about using Google Earth to break down your waterway, especially a really big lake like Lake Chickamauga, you can use this by simply going through and picking out points to fish. The first thing I usually do when I'm looking at a new lake, if it's a really big lake, is I want to break this down into segments. And how I typically break down Chickamauga is into thirds. So you can see right here, this is Highway 60. I consider anything above Highway 60 to the Watts Bar Dam to be the upper lake. Anything below Highway 60 all the way down to right here, Sequoia, I consider that to be middle lake. And anything from Sequoia way down here to the dam, I consider to be the lower third of the lake. And one thing you can do also is you can further break down from that point. So say if I'm fishing a major creek, this is Sale Creek, I can go through, mark my secondary points, mark my secondary structures and areas that I want to fish in advance so I have an idea of what I'm looking for and looking at when I'm out on the water. This could be really helpful to you guys that travel to come fish the lake. You don't want to be coming up with a game plan when you get on the water. You need to be thinking about that way in advance. Okay, to me, the two best uses that I can think of for Google Earth are going to be adapting to changing conditions and then finding just the juicy spots that a lot of other anglers don't think about or are unable to find. So I'm going to go down to Eldridge right here. When you're talking about adapting to changing conditions, a lot of guys don't actually realize that you can get historical data from Google Earth. So you can look at conditions over the years and see what you need to be doing. So if I go up here to this little spot in the upper left-hand corner, this is telling me the date of this image, this satellite image here. So if I kind of go back in time a little bit, I can push back. You can see I was looking at summer. Well, now this is more of like a winter look at it. So let's go back over here. So all this is underwater, it's got grass on it. This is probably late summer or fall. Then I go back again, and then I've got winter drawdown. I can see some of this main lake structure pushing out onto Eldridge Slough here. This is a really, really good look right here. I'm going to go back and forth between these two. All right, look how clean this water is. We can definitely see we're at Summer Pool. There's no exposed shoreline. Let me fast forward to the next screen. All right, look how dirty that is. Immediately, I think in my mind, we definitely had some kind of a rain event during this time. You can actually look back into historic rain records too and see this probably as well. But we can see that the back of Eldridge Slough is going to push out some dirty water. It's going to be mixing with what's already dirty water on the main lake. And if I'm looking at this, I can see immediately that the west side of the lake is a lot cleaner than the east side of the lake. So what I'm going to do, as just curious and scouting mind, I'm pushing upriver. Why is it so dirty on that east side? And immediately we can see why. The Hiwassee River is notorious for pushing out a bunch of dirty water into the river over here. And what you'll notice is the west side stays cleaner and the east side gets blown out. And it takes a longer time for the east side to clean up than other places. You can also see some of the major creeks like Sale Creek are getting blown out, but then you got cleaner water in the back of some of these as well. So all these are scouting tools to keep in the back of your mind so that when you see these conditions, you can be able to react to them. So immediately I would know if it's been raining a whole bunch and I don't want to fish super dirty water, I probably don't want to be hitting Eldridge Slough. I might want to hit some pockets or some main lake stuff on the west side of the river. All right, if I go again to what looks like a relatively normal picture, I can pull out on this and I can look around the lake. And what I look for is water that's typically cleaner than normal. So I can see it looks like a lot of this, like these main lake flats, tend to stay a little bit more stained unless you're around this grass. And then if I look way back into some of these creeks, looks like the water stays cleaner in some of these creeks. So if you're wanting to throw a particular technique or you're patterning the lake, it can be very helpful to know, well, I've got 4 to 5 foot visibility in this part of this creek or in this part of the lake. What's another area that I can go to that should have that? That way you're not just jumping around and wasting time trying to find these areas. Another thing that Google Earth can be great for is finding cover on the lake. So if I zoom in down here, you can see there's a bunch of docks in this little cove right here behind this island. You can look for places like that. Another cover that you can look for is look at all this grass. You can go back in time until you find when the grass was the highest. You can look for grass lines that way. You can find duck blinds. Not only that, we can find main lake structures. So immediately I can look over here and I can see that there's a big main lake flat that runs down through here. And then there's a main lake hump out here. And again, we can go back. Let's see if we can go back to winter drawdown. Yeah, look how much that flat is protruding now looking at that. Yeah, another winter shot right there. You can really see some of these things that you wouldn't normally notice before, and it can give you an idea of the lay of the land, so to speak. All right, finally, one thing that Google Earth can do for you is it can give you an indication of current. If you run back through here, especially like on these main lake bars and things like that, if you start going way back in time, you might find that some of these bars are shifting and moving year to year, and that can give you some concept of how much that particular area is changing. So when you get to that spot that you think is going to be good, you're expecting some changes to it. Alright, I hope this Google Earth video was helpful to you. The next video in this series is actually going to break down the mapping or lake mapping itself. We're going to jump into the Navionics web app, and I'm going to break down some of the key structures you need to be looking for on your local lake in order to catch fish. Once we get through with that, you should be ready for these live streams coming up. As always, guys, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I hope this week finds you out on the water, and I'll catch you there.